I think for me, when it comes to the bench, and this is coming from somebody who I was blessed enough to I never really had to until I got to the NBA, I never really had to deal with playing 9 minutes in a game or going out there and playing 3 minutes and then getting subbed out, and I never had to deal with that until I got to the NBA. So, but from my experience in the NBA, when it comes to that situation, there has to be some sort of effect that you do on the game to get more minutes and to garner more minutes. And I think when I watch this game, we talk about how, obviously the main guys have to produce in games like this. That's just period. Almost all the weight falls on those guys. But for instance, with Cormac struggling shooting and, there not being a ton of effect on the game from him, when I see like a Jalen Withers go in the game or a Pax go in the game, you can see right away if somebody is kind of timid or if they're not fully into the game. You can see it right away. Especially if you've played basketball, and for me playing at a high level, you can kind of sense, okay, this guy was really ready to go, or he just I don't know if he's got it. And when I watch the game, I mean, you know, obviously I'm one that I would love to see Jalen Washington really be somebody to, you know, with his length and his height and his ability to stretch the floor, I would love to see it. But when you see him go on the floor, there's just almost like I don't like using the word soft, and I don't want to ever call somebody soft, but I guess timid is kind of the word. When you see him get the ball and when you see him defensively, there's no real aggression. Um, I mean, he played 5 minutes, which is not a lot at all, but he had zeros all the way across the board. You see a guy like Jalen Withers comes in and he shoots a three that, wasn't very close. And then he goes in and basically misses I'll call it a layup. I mean, it was basically a hook shot, but basically misses a layup. Um, and in games like those matter. And then, for me, Seth has been probably the most steady when it comes to a guy that comes off the bench. And then a lot of it just comes purely from the defensive end. Um, but I mean, even, when it comes to offense, I mean, it's gonna be tough to really get things going for Seth. And then I watch a guy like Pax, and I think he has some ability, but I just don't this level, it's a different level from where he came from, and it's not like, oh, he can't play at this level, because I've seen Pax in practice. I've seen him in other games. Like, he's more than capable. But last night there was just a few times with kind of, I'll say, almost everybody on the bench, when they come in the game, there's just no real just assertiveness into the game. And like I said, I hadn't dealt with that until I got to the NBA. But even in those times when I was playing very minimal minutes in the NBA, your whole goal is to make sure that your presence is known when you get on the floor. And when I watched that game yesterday, I just don't know if any of those guys off the bench, if their presence was truly felt. And, obviously, does more time give guys the ability to get into a rhythm and to kind of get going? Yes, 100%. And so I totally, I'm not minimizing that at all. But just I never there wasn't a time in that game where it was like, man, we really need to keep this guy in, or man, we could really use this guy in right now. Um, there was never that from the bench. And so if I don't see that, and as a coach, if I don't see that and I don't feel that, then especially in a game like this, I'm going with whatever is working, whatever I think will win the game. And um, that I think that's kind of where they were last night. Especially, I mean, this was a high level game. It was two very high level teams, very well coached teams, just going at it back and forth. And so a lot of times that's what ends up happening. You might have in your mind going into a game as a coach, a lot of times you know, you might go into a game. This is how the rotation is going to go. We're going to give this guy a chance. We're going to give this guy a chance, this guy a chance. And then once that second half comes around, then you're just trying to win the game. And if the guys that are coming off the bench haven't shown that they can help you in that manner, then that's kind of why the minutes seem so low. But I agree with you from the standpoint there has to be ways that we can get all of these people involved and give them opportunity to develop and get better because I think they will be needed and they will, I think, end up being very big for us at some point this season. I think there will be a game when Pax comes in and he hits two or three big time threes. I think there's going to be a game where, Seth gets two or three big defensive stops and we end up coming down and scoring and winning a game. I think there's going to be a game where Jalen Withers is huge and his versatility really shows. And, he plays 30 minutes in a game and he's, huge for us. I think there's going to be times where that happens, but there has to be some sort of consistency and some sort of, okay, when I put this guy in the game, I know this is what he's going to do. I know he's going to affect the game defensively. I know offensively, if he gets an open shot, he's going to step into it and he's going to knock it down. I know he's going to go to the offensive glass every single time. There's just certain things that you have to be able to see from guys coming off the bench to be able to provide that. So hopefully they continue to do it. I think the game was tough to kind of go off of when it comes to bench minutes because, like I said, you're just trying to win big time games like that, and the coaches are obviously going to go with who they're most confident in, and obviously that kind of shows who they probably are the most confident in. But I think there is definitely opportunity. It's still early in the season. There's opportunity for them to for sure get the bench going and find ways to get them involved and things like that. So